Hi all, Fuzzy Barbarian here again. So I wasn't going to post a Nioh 2 build until a few DLCs in when ethereal gear finally starts dropping, but I keep getting asked to post the build I play with, so welcome to my Relentless Tonfa build. With this build you're practically invincible so long as you constantly attack and never back off. I mean, you can back off if you want and just block an enemy forever, but that will be rare because this build is focused on fast gameplay, taking damage, healing constantly, and building Anima fast in multiple ways so that you can use the buff's main yokai ability to make you frequently temporarily invulnerable, and also to dish out a ton of damage while allowing you to recover ki so that you can just keep on attacking. I originally put this together so that I could run through levels like a madman without pausing or stopping, and without needing to use a single buff to do that. As I put it together though, I realised I loved it, and so I ended up tweaking it to become my main build and the one I would take into NG++ when the game's first DLC drops. Just know that this isn't a one-shot the boss kind of build, so don't expect insane damage numbers. It still has plenty of damage output though, more than enough for my liking, but instead of being DPS focused, this is an aggressive play build with lots of survivability to the point that it makes you practically immortal. In other words, this is an NG+ endgame build. Put it together after completing NG+, as you'll need a Yasukani Megatama for the -1 set requirement perk that offers, and you can only get that after completing NG+, well, unless you want to farm the abduction mission in NG+, for many hours on the very slim chance that you'll get one before you complete NG+, and in my opinion, that's just not worth it. Complete the game, make this, then have some fun with it, and then take it into the first DLC. So that's what this is about. Okay, let's start with the armor sets. We have 2 pieces of Oni Shibata and 4 pieces of Conquerors. 2 pieces of Oni Shibata gives us the 3 set bonus, which is plus 252 life and a 10% reduction in damage taken during mid-attack. Reducing damage during mid-attack is one of the keys to this build's high survivability, so we'll be stacking that. Make sure you choose the Oni Shibata helmet and chest piece, as these 2 pieces add 172 toughness between them, which is more than half of the 300+ toughness we want in the final build. Okay, that leaves gauntlets, waistguard, and greaves for the Conqueror set. The Conqueror set also has the Jiku Mitsutada Katana as part of the set, which we need to equip as our secondary weapon to get all 5 of its set perks. The first set perk, Faster Sword of Meditation Activation, is a sword perk you probably won't ever use. I mean, you might only use Tonfa and never even use the sword at all, but you can use it if you want. I do here and there because I like weapon swapping mid-fight for the fun of it. Faster Sword of Meditation is kind of hilariously cool too, and with 300+ toughness you can use it without getting staggered. It's kind of funny to walk down enemies, tank the damage and kill them with it, but if I'm honest, it's not entirely safe against tough opponents though, so you probably won't really use it. Which is why I say don't use it seriously, just use it for fun if you want. In any case, the choice to use it is yours, but it's really more a wasted perk. The 3% damage reduction, damage bonus enemies defeated B+, and 5% melee damage perks are passive and honestly nothing to rave about. They're pretty standard perks for armor sets really. Damage bonus enemies defeated B+ adds just a couple of % of extra damage, so it's also nothing special. I mean, it's better than nothing, but given there's no real standout there, you can be forgiven for thinking this set doesn't seem all that good. And for most builds in the game, there are better options. But with Tonfa, this set is ridiculously good, and that's thanks to the final set perk, which is Gain Amrita on strong attack. The reason it's so good is Tonfa attacks hit with both Tonfas at once. This means a single hit counts as 2. Now this grants you double the Amrita orbs that you would normally get, so instead of getting 3 orbs, you get 6. Life recovery on Amrita absorption doesn't work on Amrita amount, it works on the number of Amrita orbs that come your way, so if we use Tonfa strong attacks when we want to heal, each single hit will give us 6 times the recovery of each life recovery on Amrita absorption perk that we have, and that's without using a single buff. Now that's pretty crazy, and it works in any stance. However, even though high stance does more damage, I personally prefer to milk this using Tonfa mid-stance strong attack. The reason for that is, it is extremely easy to chain mid-stance strong attacks. Tonfa high and low stance attacks can be chained too, sure, but you have to really time them well in order to chain them, otherwise you can end up overshooting your target and basically hit thin air. If you're trying to heal super fast, the last thing you want to do is overshoot your target. With mid-stance attacks, that never happens, and the result is you can consistently heal yourself faster than any other attack in any other stance, or even against any other build. All you have to remember is, if you need to heal, use mid-stance strong attack. To make it easy, you can stay in mid stance the whole time with this build if you want to. I mean, it's up to you if you want to flux and switch between high and low stance for more fun and variety, to access other skills or just to mix it up to prevent getting stale, but mid stance is where you'll heal. So whether you stay in mid stance constantly or switch stances constantly, either way, mid stance is where you want to be to get your rapid healing. Faster healing than any other setup is fine, but it isn't the be all end all of survivability, and it definitely won't be once DLCs up the difficulty levels. For maximum survivability, we need to pair this with a build that also has super high defense, super high toughness, and super high damage reduction. Do that, and you can become practically invincible. Starting with damage reduction, the Oni Shibata set gives us a 10% reduction in damage taken while attacking. This is a perfect stat for this build since the whole build is designed around aggressive play where you are always attacking. Our choice of Guardian Spirit for the build is Inner Sasso, which gives us another 15% reduction in damage while attacking. This spirit gives us some more perks that are very useful, and I'll go over those in a moment. The 3 soul cores we'll be using in this build are Nurikabi, Onryoki, and Toxic Slime. Of those, Onryoki gives us another 10% reduction in damage taken during mid-attack, so that's a damage reduction while attacking total of 35%. The Nurikabi soul core also gives a small 0.7% reduction in base damage taken. We get 3% less damage taken from the Conqueror set. In the Omnio tree, you can allocate points to Evil Ward 2 to get a further 2% damage reduction against yokai. In total, that's almost 41% damage reduction against yokai, all passive so long as we are always attacking. In the Tonfa skill tree, allocate points to all 3 cornered boars. Doing so gives you an extra 30% damage reduction if your life drops below 30%. Admittedly, this will rarely happen in NG+, but more than likely it will be more frequent in NG++. Either way, if this gets triggered, it'll be right when you need it, and at that point, your total damage reduction will top 70%. Next, choose all 3 of the 3 Wars Kata skills in the Tonfa tree. This adds a further 12% damage reduction to Ki as a permanent passive, and that's whether you're attacking or not. Of course, even 70% plus damage reduction isn't very helpful if you don't have much life, but 30% of the life of this build is still 1620, which is double the amount of life you get at base. More importantly, with such a high reduction in damage, it's still plenty of life to survive long enough to recoup your lost life from life recovery perks, so long as you keep attacking. I'll go over how to get high life in a moment. One thing to understand first is that the effectiveness of damage reduction reduces the lower your defense and toughness are. That's because defense affects how much damage you take, and toughness affects how much key damage you take. With high enough toughness, you also can't be staggered, which means your attacks can't be stopped. And that's important for an aggressive style build like this, so both defense and toughness have to be as high as we can get them. With a few tweaks, we can get our defense as high as 2845 on our stat screen, which is very high. During actual gameplay though, it gets to a whopping 3000 when our Amrita gauge is full, which is excellent for a tanky build. For that to happen, be sure to temper defense bonus Amrita gauge onto your chest piece. This special effect increases your defense in proportion to how full your Amrita gauge is. Defense bonus Amrita gauge is also one of the perks on our primary Guardian Spirit. When combined with the same perk on our chest piece, we get an A+ for increased defense from Amrita gauge. Now, you'll never see the actual defense number hit 3000 on your stats screen, even when your Amrita gauge is full, but what you will get in practice is roughly an extra 3% damage reduction from it. When that happens, our total damage reduction hits almost 44% against yokai, or near 74% if our life dips under 30%. To hit this level of defense, you'll need to go to the blacksmith and remodel your gear. Choose the remodel option and then reinforce every single armor piece you have. When you do this for all your armor pieces, your defense will go up a lot, but so too will your equipment weight. You'll then need to put 60 points into stamina to bring your total gear weight back down to B agility. If you don't yet have 300 points to allocate, you can hold off on remodeling your armor until you can keep yourself at B agility. I played an early version of this build without remodeling before I hit level 300, so it's still great to use before all your stats are as high as they need to be. Remodeling just makes it better. Next, temper defense bonus courage on both accessories. In this build we're using a Yasukani Magatama for the -1 set requirement perk, and a Magatama. Both can roll the defense stat you want, among other stats we also want, which we'll go over in a moment. To get that massive 307 toughness, make sure the 2 pieces of Oni Shibata set are the helmet and chest. Those 2 pieces bring 172 toughness just by themselves. The balance comes from the rest of the armor you're wearing, as well as by adding toughness to 3 of the armor pieces. And you also get an extra +5 toughness from the Nurikabi Soul Core. Now let's go over how to get your life high. At base, life with this combo of armor set and stat allocation will still be in the 4000s. We want to get it to a minimum of 5,400 plus, which I feel is the sweet spot. To do that, equip the Warrior of the West bow. This gets you plus 168 life from the armor set bonus. Add life of plus 69 to a chest piece. Add another life of plus 52 to the waist guard. Allocate your prestige points to life. You can get a max of plus 230 there once you've unlocked all your titles. Under the Samurai skill tree, be sure to unlock Fortitude 1, 2 and 3. This gives you another plus 100 life, and all in all, those additionals take your base level from under 5,000 to over 5,400. One thing to bear in mind is high life is handy when level sync is off, but when it's on, your life will be reduced. This is also true in online co-op. Be mindful that when level sync is on, if your health drops below 30%, that's the point where you'll get maximum damage reduction, you'll also have less health than you would in normal play. I like to play with numbers added to the stat bars so I can always see exactly how much of everything I have. You might want to do that as well, though it isn't necessary. The less health you have, the more likely it is that that extra 70% plus damage reduction will come into play. But even when synced, your healing capabilities will never be altered, so as long as you stay attacking and hit with mid-stance strong attack to heal, you'll still heal to full, practically instantly. Okay, that's life, defense, toughness, and damage reduction taken care of, although I should also mention be sure to get elemental damage taken under the Agio Prestige title tree. You can get minus 10.5% there at max. Also inherit elemental damage taken guarding onto 3 of your armor pieces. This will give you 100% protection against all elemental damage when guarding, something that doesn't really matter too much with an aggressive always attacking playstyle in NG+, but is something I'm sure will be very handy in NG++. Make sure in the Omnio magic tree you max out all elemental resistance passives, Fire Break, Water Break 2, Lightning Break 2. In the ninja tree, make sure you max out Poison Control 2 and Paralytic Control 2 for maximum poison and paralysis resistance, also Endurance for reducing damage over time from poison and fire. In other words, try to max out every possible damage reduction or damage resistance perk you can find in your skill trees. To max out our potential for life recovery, inherit life recovery Amrita absorption onto your chest piece. This gives 36 life recovery per Amrita orb, and since we get 6 Amrita orbs per mid-stance Tonfa strong attack, this alone nets 216 life per single hit. Next, inherit life recovery Amrita absorption onto the Asakani Magatama and Magatama accessories. Not all accessories can roll life recovery, but the Asakani and Magatama are good for that. Both are 16, so each hit delivers 192 life. For your clan, choose Toyotomi. This is one of the more popular clans. At max rank, you'll get 32 life recovery per Amrita orb, so 192 life per hit. It also gives a 16% chance of double Amrita on killing an enemy, which isn't to be sneezed at either. So with all that life recovery stacked, we're getting 600 life recovery from Amrita absorption per Tonfa mid-stance strong attack, which is pretty insane. What's more, sometimes hits on certain enemies count twice, delivering up to 1200 in life recovery from a single hit without using any buffs at all. Now I don't know why that happens, but it does. In any case, 600 from life recovery is the minimum life recovery on Amrita absorption you can expect to get per hit. Roll life drain melee attack on your Tonfa for another 22 per melee hit. Notice that I chose the Royal Tonfa. That's my weapon preference because it has no wasted slots. It's not a part of a set and doesn't have any permanent perk I don't use. Its attack is about middle ground as far as Tonfas go though. If high attack is what you want, go with Saratobi's gun sticks. But bear in mind, those force you to have to use Tonfa gun or have a wasted slot on your weapon. I don't bother with Tonfa gun even though it's fun, so Royal Tonfa it is for me. Next, choose Shin Roku as your secondary guardian spirit for the life drain on strong attack. This gives 25 life back per strong attack hit, or kind of. Weirdly, life drain on the Tonfa and via our secondary guardian spirit end up being plus 74 extra life per hit. Because math and stuff I guess. The point is, those 2 extra perks add plus 74 consistently, so in total that means you're getting 674 health back per strong attack hit with your Tonfa. I already said you can chain 3 mid-stance strong attack hits in rapid succession. Doing so ends up delivering a whopping 2022 health practically instantly. That's more than 33% of your health in one attack combo that lasts about as long as it takes you to press triangle 3 times. Do that to heal and enemies then have to damage you more than 34% of your health to make even a 1% dent in it. With all of our damage reduction, defense, toughness and health, if you trade blows relentlessly, most enemies will never manage to make that dent and by the time they die you'll still have full health. But we're still not finished. If you choose Dark Vitality 3 under the Shiftling tree, your healing is increased by a further 20% while in the Dark Realm. On top of that, you can pop an Extraction Talisman. With an Extraction Talisman active while you're in the Dark Realm, you'll get 1,528 health back per single hit. That's almost your entire health back if you do 3 strong attacks in rapid succession. Of course, Extraction Talisman helps everywhere too, not just in the Dark Realm. I only ever use Extraction Talisman in boss fights for extra healing buffs, but with 25 points in Magic, you can afford to equip 5 of them, so you can use them as frequently as you want to. Next, head over to the Shiftling tree and choose Special Finesse Recuperate 3. This will restore 40% of your health if you do a burst counter when your health is low. Also choose Curative Cause 3 to get 80% of your health back when you pick up a Soul Core. In the Shiftling tree, be sure to get Leechkin 3. This gives you 6% of your health back when you damage an enemy with a yokai ability. With this build, you'll be doing that all the time with your Nurikabi Wall Smash. More on that awesome ability in a moment. For now, let's talk about doing damage to enemies. I've already said this isn't a DPS focused boss one-shotting build, but despite being defense focused, we still have plenty of damage output options. You can see we have high attack of 2,300 plus there. Tonfa's scale of Constitution, Courage and Dexterity. I have 99 in Constitution and Courage and 40 in Dexterity. Go to the blacksmith and choose to remodel your Tonfa. Make sure your Tonfa scales either on Specialization 1 or 3. This is so that Dexterity, our lowest stat, has the lowest scaling, and so that our best stats have the highest scaling. Be sure to temper Attack Bonus Courage or Attack Bonus Constitution onto your Tonfa. On your primary ranged weapon, inherit Damage Bonus Agility A. This stat applies a little over 3% extra damage to your Tonfa attacks as well. In the Tonfa skill tree, allocate your points to Full Moon Carter 3. This gives you 6% extra melee damage when you're at full health. Put points into Shadow Strike 3 to get 6% extra melee damage to enemies from behind. Pick Passage to the Afterlife 1 to get 4% extra grapple damage. You can choose to grab Passage to the Afterlife 2 if you want more grapple damage, or put a couple of points into Melee Mastery, which is what I have done just to get a couple of extra attack points. You can also put more grapple damage on the Tonfa itself if you want to. You can see there I haven't done that. I personally prefer extra block as I think that will be more helpful when NG++ is released. Also, if someone decides to talk to me while I'm in a fight, I can just hold block and ignore the game. I recommend block, but it's up to you if you want to choose block or grapple damage, or even final blow damage in that slot. If you put a point or two into the Tonfa Melee Mastery skill tree like I have, you'll automatically unlock the Apocalypse Mystic Art. If you don't, then grab the Apocalypse Mystic Art anyway and set it. This gives a lot of increased damage from consecutive attacks. You get 5% on your first hit, 7.5% on the second, 9.9% on the third, 12.2% on the fourth, and 14.4% on the fifth, and so on and so on. And it keeps increasing so long as each hit you do occurs within 2 seconds of the last. With an aggressive playstyle, we're always doing consecutive attacks, so this provides a great boost to our damage all the time. It is particularly valuable at rapidly destroying enemies when we apply confusion or when we get increased melee damage statuses from applying things like poison, which I'll get to in a moment. Cornered Tiger 3 will give you an extra 30% melee damage when your health gets to 30%, which synergizes perfectly with the extra damage reduction we also get at the same time. With our healing, we won't ever get to truly take advantage of this, but it's handy to have it there because if your health does dip below 30%, you'll likely get in a few hits before those Emerita orbs arrive. This perk might come in handy in NG++ too, but that said, this is perhaps one stat you could elect to not pick and instead allocate points to other skills or even just to melee mastery to increase your attack. Be sure to allocate points to Relentless 3. This gives us an extra plus 60 ki, which we need for maximum damage output since we are not allocating any points to Heart at all. Also put points into Indomitable Spirit 3 for 30% faster ki recovery when your life drops to 30%. Doing so synergizes with our extra damage and extra damage reduction perks. You'll notice I don't have a lot of points allocated to all the various other Tonfa skills available. That's because you only have so many points to allocate, and I've chosen to max out all the stats shown so far for maximum damage of the skills that I do have. The skills we utilize most are also the same skills that unlock anyway when you max out those stats. Those are Demon Dance with Pulverized Man, Wild Lions, and Focus Strike. So that's kind of perfect. At one point I had less stats allocated to bonus passives and more to skills, but in the end I found myself coming back to mainly using Wild Lions and Demon Dance Pulverized Man, and occasionally Focus Strike, so it makes sense for me to allocate them this way for maximum damage output of those three. I recommend you do the same, and then if you get bored using only a few skills, you can then decide which points you want to take from where and add it to something else. It's easy to reset the skill tree at any time and play around constantly with this, so there's nothing lost by trying this or that until you find what makes it most fun for you. Back onto key management, you should also consider tempering key onto the headpiece for another plus 49, as well as key recovery and reader gauge onto the waistguard. In the Shiftling tree, choose the Dark Within 3 to get a 30% increased key recovery speed when you're in the Dark Realm. While you're there, choose the Yokai Within 3 to get another 30% reduction in key recovery penalty while in a Yokai Realm. Choose Special Finesse Refresh 3 to get 80% of your ki back when you perform a burst counter. and choose Special Finesse Invigorate to boost your ki recovery speed after you do a burst counter. You won't have to worry about not having enough ki, even though we have no points in heart though. Our perk selections combined with 99 points in courage gives us massive ki recovery. Even without fluxing, so long as you always ki pulse correctly, you'll have plenty of ki to stay relentlessly attacking. Plus, there's another reason why you shouldn't worry about ki. We have Nioh as our primary soul core, and with this build we'll use his big wall Hulk smash all the time. I'll talk about how we make that happen in a moment, but for now, think of Nioh as a big aspect of doing damage with this build, but also as a great ki regeneration backup utility. Speaking of soul cores, be sure to add +5 attack to all of them for an extra +15 attack in total. You also want to put yokai ability damage all on them for maximum Hulk smash. I don't have all on the Nioh because, well, Terry is an asshole. But the only yokai ability we'll be using that benefits from extra damage is Nioh, so as long as the other two have yokai ability damage all on them, my Nioh still gets maximum damage with just yokai ability damage on it. Try to get yokai ability damage all on everything if you can though. In the titles menu, choose yokai ability damage all in your Agio prestige title tree. At max you can get another 10.5% yokai ability damage all there. On top of that, Inner Sasso gives +5% yokai ability damage to brute soul cores, so be sure to remodel all your soul cores to brute. In the Shiftling tree, choose Soul Atrophy 3 so that your Nioh smash deals 6% more ki damage. Also choose Special Finesse Focus. This increases the damage of your Nioh Hulk smash if you do it after you do a burst counter. All up, your Nioh smashes will be doing 50.5% extra base damage and 6% extra ki damage. The damage it does varies according to enemy, but it's a lot, sometimes as high as 7,000 to 8,000 damage per activation, which is a real lot when you consider we can activate it fairly constantly. And you will activate it fairly constantly because we're building Anima with just about everything we do. Our choice of Guardian Spirit helps with that. It has two Anima perks, Anima Bonus Guard A- and Anima Bonus Damage Taken A. Anima Bonus Guard means you gain Anima when you block. With our defense and toughness we can block anything all day long, so if you want to fill your Anima just by blocking you can do that. In fact, you can defeat every enemy in the game by blocking, activating Nioh, and blocking again, rinse and repeat. Of course that would be stupid because it would take a while, but you can do it. Anima Bonus Damage Taken A builds Anima according to how much damage we take. Since we have an aggressive build that constantly attacks, we are always taking damage. We heal from it instantly, yes, but the damage still counts. We also have Anima Bonus Damage Taken B on our Onryoki Soul Core. Combined, this gives us an A+, meaning we get a lot of Anima when taking damage. On the Nioh and Toxic Slime cores, aim to have Anima Bonus Amrita Absorption. It'll be D+ for each stat. Inherit the same stat onto your Tonfa, which you can do by inheriting the stat from a Soul Core onto a Corrupted Weapon, and then from the Corrupted Weapon onto your Tonfa. All three combined give an Anima bonus from Amrita Absorption of C. It's not an A, but it still equates to a lot of Anima since we are constantly absorbing twice the amount of Amrita orbs per mid-stance strong attack than any other build can. In that sense, it's kind of an A. So basically if we block, take damage, or attack with strong attacks, we are always building Anima, and this is how we frequently have Nioh at our disposal. That, and also in the Shiftling tree, choose Dragon Vein 3 to increase your Anima gain rate. Choose the Dragon's Echo 3 to recover 10% of your Anima from your yokai ability use. Just make sure your soul cores are all brute for that to work though. Finally, make sure in the Shiftling tree you add all the other increasing Anima perks you can find, like Earth Vein 3, Devour Yokai Realm 2, and Absorb Yokai Realm 3. And also look for a Magatama that drops with Anima Charge on it. Mine has plus 6.7% on it, which is a big help. And under the Agio titles menu, select Anima Charge. At max, you'll get an extra plus 10.5%. All in all, you should get at least 23% or more Anima Charge, and that's before the Anima building perks we have are activated. And don't forget, when in the Dark Realm, Anima Charge is faster by default. So with all these perks going, once you're in the Dark Realm, you'll be able to use your Hulk Smash or other yokai abilities nearly at will, and that's when it counts. Moving back to our armor, you're going to want to inherit the Pulverized Man damage skill across all pieces. In total I have plus 48.5% extra Pulverized Man damage, which is not min-maxed. It can go slightly more, but it's close enough that it's good enough for me. The reason you want Pulverized Man damage over the high stance version, which is Pulverized Heaven, is because Pulverized Man can be chained with the Tonfa mid-stance strong attack faster and more consistently. Chaining Pulverized Man with strong attack is easily the fastest way to do damage and heal to max life over and over again without a pause. Just remember, Pulverized Man damage can only be rolled on light armor gloves, so you have to roll that or get it off a Revenant at least 5 times and then inherit it across all your armor pieces. Be sure to also inherit attack across all of those armor pieces too. You can get more than 170 extra attack doing that alone. In the Tonfa skill customization menu, make sure you add damage bonus Constitution to mid-stance Wild Lions and damage boost Courage on mid-stance Demon Dance Man. I also have damage boost Stamina on Storm of Strikes there. Put whatever else you want on the high and low stance skills if you intend to use them. Also put melee key damage on the Tonfas. This is a better stat than key damage from an active skill because with the chaining of your skill and your mid-stance strong attack, you'll end up dealing more key damage all up than if you limit it to skills only. In terms of ways to increase our damage during gameplay, we actually have a few. The first is by using Power Pill, which gives this build a 16% damage increase. I really only ever use this during a boss fight, but with our ninjutsu points, we can easily have 5, so you can use it freely throughout maps too if you want in between shrines. I prefer Power Pill over Carnage or other buffs, even though it does less damage, as I don't want any debuffs on my character. I know you can compensate for weakness debuffs by using Steel Talisman and Protection Talisman, but one thing I like about this build is that you can run through maps without ever applying a buff if you want. When I get to bosses and do apply buffs, I have a set of 4 buffs that synergize well, and I don't want the headache of having to add a 5th, especially when it's not really needed, so Power Pill it is for me. The next major damage dealer is our ability to rapidly apply Confusion. You can make an enemy confused by applying 2 elemental status ailments at once. A confused enemy takes 50% more damage, and most enemies won't be able to recover their ki at all while taking that damage. When they're confused, you'll see a horizontal yin-yang symbol appear. Applying Confusion is super easy with this build. First, you'll want to make sure your Tonfa has Purity on it. Purity is the best element to have on a Tonfa for helping to apply Confusion, as there isn't a single enemy in the game immune to it. And with Tonfa, you can apply it super fast. Faster on yokai than humans, but still super fast on any type of enemy. In the ninja tree, pick all 3 shadow arts and allocate points to max them out to 3 to reduce their jutsu cost. By having access to all 3, we have all types of elemental resistances covered. Applying any one of these to an enemy after you've applied Purity will instantly apply Confusion. So, as soon as you see the Purity symbol is full on an enemy, which looks like a double-ended fork, that means the enemy is now purified. At this point they'll take increased ki damage and any buff they had going is removed. Immediately then hit the enemy with the shadow art that they are weakest to. Usually 1 hit will be enough, occasionally 2. Speed up the application by performing a burst counter after you activate the shadow art. This cancels the animation, so if you have to apply a second, you can, or it gets you to attack them faster once it's been applied. Once done, you'll now have Confusion applied, and this is the point where you want to wail away and do as much damage as you can. Confusion doesn't last long though, so make the most of it to get a ton of damage while you can. To make your damage output even greater, before you apply Purity and Confusion, you can apply Poison too. Poison doesn't contribute to Confusion, which is great because it does stack with it instead, and we can get some good extra melee damage from it on top of the extra Confusion damage. For that, temper melee damage versus poisoned enemy onto both accessories. This will give you almost 50% extra melee damage against a poisoned enemy. There are ways to increase that even further, but we're not going there with this build, for to do so would require us to remove some of our gear choices, which are all specifically chosen to synergize with our overall setup. So we don't want to do that. With this build, we're going to be happy with a simple 50% increase in melee damage from poisoned enemies and leave it at that. To make sure you can apply poison super fast, just temper poison accumulation enemy on both accessories. The Toxic Slime Soul Core also has poison accumulation enemy of 10%. In total, we have 35.8% poison accumulation, which is plenty for our 2 methods of applying poison. One of the methods of applying poison we have is throwing poison shuriken. Typically with this build, 1 or 2 shurikens will apply poison to most enemies, but I only use this at the start of a fight when I can see the enemy waiting on the other end of an arena or something just standing there. I never use this mid-fight as it's too slow to stop and throw shuriken. Instead, that's where our Toxic Slime Core comes in. What's great about this is you can be mid-fight and be right in an enemy's face and, in between attacks, instantly apply poison with barely a pause. Poison does tick damage too, so that's on top of the extra melee damage you get. To pump out maximum damage, apply poison, then purity, then confusion, and we can do it all super easy and super fast. At this point you want to go broke with your Tonfa to take advantage of roughly 100% extra melee damage while it lasts. And of course this stacks with all the other damage enhancements we've already covered, including the use of the Power Pill and the Mystic Art Apocalypse. The final area of extra damage we can get comes from our Guardian Spirit with the perk Charge Attack Boost. This gives an extra 15% boost on charge attacks. Unfortunately, the Tonfa doesn't have any charge attacks, and neither does the Katana, so we're out of luck there. However, the perk also applies to dash attacks. So, from this we get another 50% damage from any dash attack we do, which basically means holding your sprint button and hitting an enemy while pressing forward. You can actually chain dash attack combos to milk this 15%, but that's a whole other tutorial video. For now, know that you can get an extra 15% damage just by holding sprint, pressing forward and attacking. Typically this will be with just the weak attack, though, as it's a lot more difficult to chain dash attacks with strong attack. Next, I want to cover the items I have as shortcuts. To make it easy, I have 3 shortcut sets. You can choose the number of shortcut sets you have in the menu settings area. My first shortcut set contains buffs that I apply to myself. Power Pill for extra damage, Extraction Talisman for extra Amrita orbs, Barrier Talisman for extra key recovery, and Rejuvenation Talisman for extra health recovery. The reason I use Rejuvenation is because we earn Anima from taking damage, so we don't want any buffs like Steel Talisman or Protection Talisman that would ruin that. Yes, we already heal well, but the more healing we can get, the better. More to the point, Rejuvenation helps keep our health at max, and since we get increased Tonfa melee damage when at full health, it makes sense to try to maximize our chances of staying at full health too. The second shortcut set contains debuffs I apply to enemies, which are the Poison Shurikens and the Ninja Shadow Arts that I've already talked about. So the first set is for applying to myself, the second for applying to enemies. The third is mostly about healing. I haven't used an elixir in about 100 hours of play, but I keep it there for whenever I might be about to enter a boss area and maybe have taken a little damage that I couldn't heal from, such as poison tick damage or something like that. In those cases, it's good to heal up so that when you go straight into the boss fight, you're already able to do maximum melee damage from the start. I also have Antidote and Anti-Paralytic Needles there. The needles are handy and I can't live without those. Instant recovery from paralysis is great. So basically I categorize my 3 shortcut sets into use on myself, use on a boss, and mostly healing. It makes it easy to remember which one to flick to when you need it. I'll quickly scroll through some of the skill trees that I haven't really talked about now so you can see all the things I have selected. Some of these are automatic and some of them are optional. A lot of what I haven't already talked about that are specific to support this build I've just selected because I had the points and nowhere else to put them. There might even be some slight better choices there, I don't know, but I'm quickly scrolling through them now so you can just pause if you want to look at anything specific. Apart from that, this is the build I'm taking into NG++ when it comes out. I'm guessing all I'll be doing in the first DLC is upgrading each part of this build with a new higher level version of itself as those parts drop while I progress through. We'll see, of course. I mean, who knows what new sets might get introduced, but if Nioh 1 was anything to go by, we still have a couple of DLCs to go before the real fun with ethereal gear-based builds begins. I don't really want to spend a lot of time grinding for builds until then, as most builds will quickly be made obsolete anyway. Until then, I'm almost certain I'll stick with this Relentless Immortal Hulk smashing Tonfa build because it's powerful and I really love playing with it. Last thing I want to say is I've tried to cover a lot of stuff in this video and I've done it as fast and comprehensively as I can, but I still haven't covered everything, including how to find all the gear, where to find smithing texts, places to farm things, and so on. I don't want this video to be any longer, it's already ridiculously long as it is, so if you do have any questions or want any clarification on anything at all, just post in the comments and I'll do my best to answer them and help you out. Thanks for watching, that's it for me and Nioh 2 until the first DLC drops at the end of July 2020. Until then, Terry.